The casket lowered into the rain-soaked earth like a final, unforgiving slam of a prison door, and Austin felt the ground swallow his father whole, swallow the last tether to a life that had never truly been his. "You're no son of mine," his uncle spat, the words slicing through the downpour sharper than any eulogy, as family members turned their backs, umbrellas blooming like black shields against the storm. In that instant, Austin stood alone on the gravesite, the mud sucking at his shoes, realizing the inheritance he'd craved wasn't money or memories. It was the brutal truth that love, in his world, came with a price tag he could never afford. Rain hammered the cemetery like God's own indictment, blurring the tombstones into a gray haze as Austin trudged toward the wrought iron gates of St. Mary's in Queens. His father's funeral had been a farce of piety and pretense, hymns sung with lips curled in judgment, condolences whispered like veiled accusations. At 28, Austin had come back from Seattle hoping for reconciliation, for the old man on his deathbed to finally see him, not as the disappointment who'd fled to the West Coast 3 years ago, but as the son who'd inherited his stubborn jaw and unyielding heart. Instead, the will reading in the lawyer's stuffy office had been a gut punch. The family brownstone in Astoria, the modest savings, the vintage Mustang, all funneled to his cousins, with a codicil that burned like acid. To Austin, "I leave my regrets. Live straight, or don't live at all." His Aunt Miriam had led the charge, her voice a venomous hiss as the family gathered in the church basement for the repast. "We can't have your lifestyle tainting Dad's legacy," she'd said, eyes narrowing behind her cat-eye glasses, the pearl necklace at her throat gleaming like a noose. Uncle Ray, the self-appointed patriarch with his beer gut straining against a ill-fitting suit, had nodded along, muttering about family values and the neighborhood's reputation. Austin's pleas, raw, desperate, had fallen on deaf ears. "You're dead to us," Ray had growled, shoving a soggy umbrella into his chest like a parting gift from hell. Now, with the city swallowing him whole, Austin clutched his duffel bag, the only thing he'd salvaged from the house before they changed the locks. The subway ride back to Manhattan felt eternal, each rattle of the F train echoing the fracture in his chest. He emerged at West 4th Street, the village's pulse a mocking contrast to his unraveling world. Streetlights flickered on, casting halos over couples laughing under awnings, their hands intertwined without shame. Austin's phone buzzed, texts from old friends in Seattle, oblivious to the catastrophe. "How was the funeral? Miss you already." He couldn't respond. The words stuck like thorns. Instead, he wandered into Washington Square Park, the arch looming like an indifferent sentinel. Benches were slick with rain, but he collapsed onto one anyway, the cold seeping through his wool pants. His father's voice echoed in his mind, slurred from whiskey and regret. "Boys like you don't get happy endings, Austin. Fix it or forget it." At 18, coming out had been a quiet rebellion. A letter left on the kitchen table before he bolted for the airport with a one-way ticket and a scholarship to UW. Now, a decade later, the rejection felt fresh, a wound ripped open. Hunger gnawed at him, but pride kept him from calling anyone. The city that never sleeps had no mercy for the castaways. As night deepened, sirens wailed in the distance, a symphony of urban despair. Austin buried his face in his hands, the duffel at his feet a pathetic anchor. That's when he noticed the man, tall, impeccably dressed in a Burberry trench that repelled the drizzle like armor. He was feeding crumbs to a cluster of pigeons, his movements precise, almost ritualistic. Silver streaked his temples, framing a face chiseled by time and triumph. High cheekbones, a jaw that could cut glass, eyes the color of aged whiskey under heavy brows. He looked mid-40s, the kind of man who owned boardrooms and whispered commands to waiters with a glance. "Bad day." The voice was smooth, laced with a faint southern drawl that softened the edges, a Texas transplant, maybe, polished by years in the concrete jungle. Austin startled, wiping his eyes hastily. "You could say that. Or the worst decade." The man chuckled, low and warm, sliding onto the bench with the grace of someone used to claiming space. Up close, he smelled of sandalwood and rain. Expensive, unhurried. "Elliot Hargrove." He extended a hand, cufflinks glinting like stars. "And you look like you could use a dry martini and a story that doesn't end in tears." Austin hesitated, then shook it. Firm grip, calloused palms that spoke of more than desk work. "Austin Riley. And tears are kind of my brand right now." Elliot's gaze lingered, not pitying, but appraising, like he saw the steel beneath the shatter. "Fair enough. But brands can be rebranded. Come on, kid. My place is 2 blocks over. No strings, just a couch and coffee that'll wake the dead. It was madness, stranger danger in neon lights, but exhaustion won. Austin followed, the duffel slung over his shoulder like a shield. Elliot's brownstone on Bleecker Street was a revelation. Exposed brick walls lined with first editions, a fireplace crackling against the chill, abstract paintings that screamed old money and new tastes. Make yourself at home, Elliot said, shrugging off his coat to reveal a cashmere sweater hugging broad shoulders. He poured scotch neat, handing Austin a glass that burned going down, warming the void. Over the next hour, words tumbled out, Austin's confession spilling like the rain outside. The funeral, the disownment, the gnawing fear of starting over at 28 with nothing but student loans and a barista gig waiting back west. Elliot listened, legs crossed, fingers steepled, his expression a mask of quiet intensity. Family's a funny beast, he said finally, swirling his glass. Mine shipped me off to military school at 15 for kissing the stable boy. Thought it'd straighten me out. Joke's on them. I came back with a fortune and a hell of a grudge. Austin blinked, the scotch blurring the edges of disbelief. You're gay as a maypole, darling. Elliot's smile was crooked, self-deprecating. Built Hardrow Ventures from a garage startup to $1 billion hedge fund. But money doesn't buy back the boy who cried alone in barracks. He leaned forward, elbows on knees. You're not broken, Austin. You're just unmoored. Let me help tie the knots. It started small, a guest room with Egyptian cotton sheets, a tailor delivering suits that fit like second skin. Elliot insisted on breakfast meetings, pancakes at Clinton Street Baking Company, where he'd dissect Austin's resume with surgical precision. Graphic design? In Seattle? That's small pond thinking. New York's where you scale. By week's end, Austin had interviews lined up at top agencies, his portfolio polished under Elliot's network of whispers. But it was the evenings that wove the real spell. Vinyl spinning jazz on the turntable, Elliot's stories of Wall Street wolves and Hampton's heartbreaks, Austin's laughter thawing the ice in his veins. One night, after a gallery opening in Chelsea where Austin's sketches caught an agent's eye, they returned flushed with champagne and possibility. The fire popped, casting shadows that danced like secrets. To reinvention, Elliot toasted, clinking glasses, his knee brushing Austin's in the leather armchair. The touch lingered, electric, a question in the air, heavy with want. Austin set his glass down, heart hammering. Why me? You could have picked any stray off the street. Elliot's eyes darkened, tracing Austin's lips. Because I've been that stray. And because you look at the world like it's still worth saving. He closed the distance, hand cupping Austin's jaw, thumb grazing stubble. The kiss was inevitable, slow at first, exploratory, tasting of Merlot and mercy. Then deeper, urgent, Elliot's fingers threading through Austin's hair as bodies aligned, the chair creaking under their shift. Clothes shed like old skins, revealing scars. Austin's faded tattoo from a college fling, Elliot's surgical line from a discreet procedure in the 90s. They moved to the rug, rain pattering a rhythm outside, gasps mingling with whispers, "Let me see you, I've got you," until release crashed like thunder, leaving them tangled, slick, spent. In the afterglow, Austin traced Elliot's chest, the steady thrum beneath his palm a lifeline. This feels like a dream, the kind that shatters. Elliot pulled him closer, lips brushing his temple. Then we'll build a reality that outshines it. Weeks blurred into a rhythm of stolen moments and shared silences. Austin landed a junior designer role at a Soho firm, his days filled with mood boards and client pitches, nights with Elliot's arms around him, the brownstone a sanctuary from the city's grind. They explored, brunch at the Spotted Pig, walks in the High Line where hands brushed without fear, a weekend in the Catskills where they hiked trails hand in hand, Elliot's laughter echoing off pines as Austin sketched him against autumn leaves. Love crept in unannounced, fierce and fragile. Elliot's quiet pride when Austin aced a presentation, Austin's ache when Elliot stared out windows, haunted by boardroom battles. But shadows loomed. Austin's cousin Lena reached out via a block number. "Family sorry. Come home for Thanksgiving." Dad would have wanted it. He showed Elliot the text, doubt twisting his gut. It's a trap. But part of me wants to believe they've changed. Elliot's jaw tightened, a rare flicker of vulnerability. Blood's thicker than ink, but it cuts deeper too. Go if you must, but take my jet. And remember, you're not theirs to break anymore. Thanksgiving arrived crisp and biting. The brownstone in Astoria unchanged. Faded wallpaper, the scent of turkey wafting from Miriam's kitchen. Austin arrived alone, Elliot's gift of a private car, a quiet armor. The table was set with crystal from his grandmother's era, but the warmth was veneer-thin. Toasts were made to absent souls, eyes sliding past him. Then, after pie, Uncle Ray cleared his throat, ledger in hand. We've been thinking. The will. There might be room for you, Austin, if you commit to therapy. To change. The room stilled, forks clinking like accusations. Lena averted her eyes, shame coloring her cheeks. Miriam nodded vigorously. For the family. For Dad's memory. Austin's laugh was bitter, hollow. Therapy? You mean conversion camps? I'm not a glitch to fix. He stood, chair scraping linoleum. I came for peace, not pity. Keep your scraps. I've built better without you. Ray's face purpled. Ungrateful queer. Get out, before I make you. The door slammed behind him, cold air slapping sense back. But as he reached the stoop, a figure emerged from the shadows. Elliot, trench coat belted tight, eyes stormy. Drove up on a hunch. Saw the car. You okay? Austin crumbled then, fists pounding Elliot's chest before melting into sobs. They want me fixed. Like I'm broken. Elliot held him fierce, rain starting anew. You're whole. And you're mine. They drove back in silence, the city lights blurring through tears, Elliot's hand steady on Austin's thigh, a vow unspoken. Winter gripped New York like a jealous lover, frost etching patterns on the brownstone windows as Austin and Elliot carved out their world. Mornings began with espresso ground fresh, Elliot in silk boxers flipping eggs while Austin sketched at the island, capturing the curve of Elliot's smile in charcoal strokes. You're dangerous with that pencil, Elliot teased one dawn, nipping Austin's earlobe as he passed, capturing souls before breakfast. Their love was a quiet revolution. Lazy Sundays in bed with the New York Times scattered like confetti, Elliot reading op-eds aloud in that drawl that turned politics into poetry. Austin discovered layers. The philanthropist funding queer youth shelters, the vintage watch collector with a drawer of heirlooms from a father who never knew him. In return, Austin shared his vulnerabilities. The poetry scribbled in margins of design briefs, dreams of illustrating children's books where heroes loved without apology. But intimacy bred exposure, and with it, the first cracks. Elliot's ex, Victor, a silver-haired venture capitalist with a penthouse in Tribeca, surfaced at a gala for the Whitney. Austin spotted them across the room, Victor's hand lingering on Elliot's elbow, laughter shared like old currency. Jealousy coiled in Austin's gut, hot and irrational, as he nursed a gin fizz alone. When Elliot returned, flushed from the encounter, Austin's words spilled sharp. Old flame? Or unfinished business? Elliot's brow furrowed, guiding him to a shadowed alcove. Vic's water under the bridge, toxic as hell. He cheated, gaslit, left me chasing shadows for years. His fingers intertwined with Austin's, grounding. You're the bridge I didn't know I needed. Trust that. Austin nodded, shame dousing the fire, but the seed of doubt took root. Days later, a package arrived at the firm, monogrammed cufflinks from Victor, note enclosed. Miss our synergy. Dinner? Austin's stomach twisted, he pocketed it, unread by Elliot, a secret festering like untreated wound. Meanwhile, Hargrove Ventures hit turbulence. A merger with a Silicon Valley tech firm soured, whispers of insider trading circling like vultures. Elliot buried himself in calls, emerging hollow-eyed, Scotch his companion. One blizzard night, as snow blanketed the village, Austin found him in the study, staring at spreadsheets that swam with red. It's unraveling, Elliot admitted, voice raw. One bad bet, and it all cascades. Austin knelt beside him, hands on knees. Then let it. You're more than the empire. He pulled Elliot to the floor, kisses trailing fire down his neck, reclaiming him inch by inch. They made love slow, deliberate. Elliot's gasps a litany of surrender, Austin's touch a promise. We're enough. In the quiet after, Elliot confessed, Vic's sniffing around the deal. Leverage. He knows my weaknesses. The name hung heavy, a specter. Austin forced a smile. Then we fight dirty. Together. Spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms dusting Central Park like fleeting confetti. Austin's career bloomed. A solo exhibit at a NoHo gallery, his illustrations of queer icons drawing crowds and critics' praise. Elliot beamed from the front row, arm possessive around Austin's waist, toasting with flutes of youth. My artist's on fire, he murmured, nuzzling Austin's ear amid the throng. Yet betrayal brewed in shadows. Victor cornered Austin at a networking mixer in Midtown, martini in hand, smile oily. Elliot's always had a savior complex. Picked you up from the gutter, hasn't he? Charming narrative. Austin stiffened, but Victor pressed, voice low. He's using you for optics. The reformed playboy, with the pretty boy on his arm. Check his emails. You'll see. Lies, Austin told himself, deleting the anonymous tip Victor slipped him later. But paranoia gnawed. Late nights, while Elliot slept, Austin scrolled his laptop. Nothing incriminating, just bored minutes and love notes drafted but unsent. Austin, you make me believe in tomorrows. Guilt twisted deeper. He hadn't told Elliot about Victor's overtures, the cufflinks gathering dust in a drawer. The climax erupted on a humid June evening, the merger deadline looming. Elliot hosted a dinner for investors at the Brownstone. Steak au poivre, Bordeaux flowing, laughter masking tension. Victor arrived uninvited, fashionably late, eyes locking on Austin like a predator. Darling, he purred, kissing Austin's cheek too close. You clean up well. Elliot's fork paused midair, jaw clenching. Vic, this is private. Oh, but I bring gifts. Victor slid a folder across the table, photos spilling. Austin at the funeral, disheveled, paparazzi shots of their park walks. A blurry printout of Austin's old Seattle arrest for protesting conversion therapy. Leverage, Elliot. Sign the deal my way, or your boy skeletons dance in the tabloids. The room froze, investors murmuring. Austin's blood roared, betrayal's blade twisting. You son of a... Elliot surged up, chair toppling. Get out. Now. His voice was thunder, but Victor smirked, unfazed. Think on it. Family first, right? He glanced at Austin. Or whatever passes for it. Doors slammed, guests fled like rats. Alone, Elliot paced, fury etching lines deeper. How long has he been at you? Austin's confession cracked open. The texts, the doubts, the silence. I thought I was protecting us. Elliot stopped, eyes shattering. By lying? Christ, Austin, I thought you were different. He grabbed his coat, storming into the night, leaving Austin amid shattered glass from a flung bottle. Hours blurred into agony. Austin wandering rain-slick streets, calling voicemails to empty air. Dawn found him on the High Line, overlooking the Hudson's gray churn, contemplating the drop. A text buzzed. Meet me. The park. Bench. Heart pounding, he went. Elliot waited, disheveled, eyes red-rimmed. I fixed it. Bought out Vic's shares at a premium. Cost me half the firm, but he's gone. He sank beside Austin, shoulders brushing. And us? I overreacted. Fear makes monsters of us. Austin's voice broke. I almost lost you. Because I couldn't trust. Elliot cupped his face, thumbs wiping tears. Then trust this. I love you. Not the savior. Not the story. The man who sees me raw and stays. The kiss was salt and salvation, bodies pressing close as joggers blurred by, indifferent witnesses. Summer waned into fall, scars fading to stories. Elliot downsized the firm, pivoting to impact investing, funding LGBTQ plus startups. His boardroom now a haven for the marginalized. Austin's book deal landed. Cast Shadows, illustrations of outcasts finding light, dedicated to E. Who Caught Me Falling. One crisp October afternoon, under the Washington Square arch where they'd met, Elliot knelt, velvet box glinting. Marry me, Austin. Not for show, not for redemption. For the mess and the magic. Tears blurred the ring, simple platinum with etched vines. Yes. God, yes. The wedding was intimate. Rooftop in the village, rainbow flags fluttering, friends from Seattle mingling with Elliot's chosen family. Vows exchanged with the skyline as witness. In your light, I found mine. As they danced under strings of bulbs, Austin whispered, from cast out to chosen. Who knew? Elliot grinned, twirling him. Fate's got a sense of humor. And damn, it's romantic. In the years that followed, the brownstone echoed with life. Adoptions pursued, holidays hosted for strays like Austin once was. His family? A Christmas card arrived once and signed, but it was enough, a crack in the door. Forgiveness, humanistic and hard won, bloomed slow. Love, they learned, wasn't absence of storm but dancing in the rain. And in quiet nights, tangled sheets whispering secrets, Austin knew. Intervention had changed everything, not just his world, but the man who'd saved it twice over. 2 years into marriage, the brownstone had evolved from sanctuary to canvas. A nursery half-painted in soft blues awaited their first adoption, paperwork a labyrinth of hope and bureaucracy. Austin, now 30, balanced book tours for Cast Shadows sequel with freelance gigs, his style gracing billboards from Brooklyn to Berlin. Elliot, at 47, had rebranded Hargrove as a force for good. Seed funding for queer tech innovators, board seats for voices long silenced. Their life was a tapestry of triumphs. Anniversaries in Provincetown, where they'd honeymooned amid dune whispers, lazy brunches with Lena, who defected from the family fold, her apologies a bridge half-built. Yet, beneath the weave, threads frayed. Victor's ghost lingered, not in flesh but in echoes. A lawsuit dragged through courts, alleging fraud in the buyout, dredging up Austin's funeral photos as character evidence against Elliot's stability. Tabloids nibbled, hedge fund heartthrobs scandalous past, but they weathered it. Austin's hand in Elliot's a talisman. We've slain bigger dragons, Austin quipped over late-night tie, chopsticks clacking like defiance. The real serpent slithered from within. Austin's success swelled, invitations to TEDx stages and panels on queer resilience pulling him to coasts. One LA trip stretched to 2 weeks, networking with publishers, a side gig animating a short film. Calls home grew sporadic, Elliot's voice tinny through speakers. Miss your sketches on the fridge. House feels echoey. Austin laughed it off, but guilt simmered. Echoes of his own abandonment fears. The boy cast out, still whispering not enough. Elliot, too, harbored shadows. A younger consultant, Theo, lithe, ambitious, with eyes like polished onyx, joined the firm, his ideas sparking boardroom fires. Late nights bled into strategy sessions, Theo's laugh a melody Elliot hadn't heard in years. Innocence at first, mentorship, shared vision. But one cab ride home, Theo's hand on his knee, the air thick with possibility. Elliot pulled away, heart racing with revulsion and temptation. I'm married, he said, voice steel. Theo shrugged. Happily ever after some myth, boss. Even for kings. The confession burned unspoken, a coal in Elliot's chest. He threw himself into the adoption, home visits, reference letters, channeling energy into fatherhood's promise. When Austin returned, sun-kissed and buzzing, they collided in the foyer. Bags dropped, bodies fused against the door, urgency masking the undercurrent. God, I needed this. Austin gasped, nails raking Elliot's back. But as they lay spent, Austin's phone lit with a text from his agent. LA extension? Big offer. Elliot's arm tightened, possessive. Stay? We're building a family. Austin hesitated, fingers tracing Elliot's wedding band. It's temporary. For us, for the kid. The fracture widened subtly. Arguments over paint swatches turning to barbs about priorities. Austin snapped at Elliot's hovering. I'm not your project anymore. While Elliot stewed in silence, Theo's card burning a hole in his wallet. Discarded but not forgotten. Betrayal specter loomed largest at the family reunion Austin orchestrated. A tentative olive branch to Miriam and Ray, neutral ground at a Catskills cabin. Lena mediated, her husband grilling burgers, the air thick with unspoken sins. Miriam arrived prim, bearing pie. Ray, gruff, with a handshake that lingered awkward. Small talk skirted minds. Weather, grandkids. Until over Esmores, Ray cleared his throat. Austin weave. Reflected. Therapy helped us see. You're welcome home, son. If you want. The words hung, a lifeline laced with barbs. Austin's throat tightened, old wounds pulsing. Home? You buried that with Dad. But beneath anger, a child's ache, for the brownstone holidays, the Mustang rides. Elliot, sensing the tide, squeezed his hand under the table. Where is home now? Ray's eyes flicked to their joined fingers, softening fractionally. Fair. But blood's blood. Miriam nodded, tears glistening. We were scared. Of losing you two. That world. The evening teetered. Laughter over board games. A tentative hug from Miriam that smelled of lavender and regret. Driving back, Austin wept quietly. Part of me wants it. The forgiveness. Elliot's knuckles whitened on the wheel. And the cost. Erasing who you are. Silence stretched, a chasm. That night, in their king bed, Austin reached for Elliot, but the touch faltered. Elliot turning away, back a wall of muscle and mystery. Not tonight. Tired. The lie tasted bitter. Elliot's mind replayed Theo's touch, a momentary lapse he'd quashed but couldn't unfeel. Guilt warred with resentment. He's slipping away, chasing stars while I hold the fort. Days later, the lawsuit peaked. Victor's deposition, broadcast snippets painting Elliot as predatory, twisting their love into tabloid fodder. Reporters camped the brownstone stoop, flashes blinding as Austin shielded his face. Give us your side, Mr. Riley Hargrove. Is it true Elliot paid off your family? Rage boiled. Inside, Austin hurled a vase, shards scattering like trust. This is your past biting us. Why didn't you bury it deeper? Elliot recoiled, face ashen. I did. For us. But you. Running to LA, leaving me to fend off wolves alone. The dam broke. Accusations flew. Austin's selfish ambition. Elliot's smothering control. In the melee, truths escaped. Austin admitting the LA offer tempted escape from the weight of us. Elliot blurting. And Theo? God, I almost strayed because you feel a million miles away. The room stilled. Air sucked dry. Austin's eyes widened. Betrayal fresh as the funeral rain. You what? Elliot sank to the rug, head in hands. A touch. A moment. I stopped it. But the thought. It shames me. Sobs racked him, the titan crumbling. I love you too much to lose you, but fear's winning. Austin knelt, warring impulses, to flee, to hold. Instead, he wrapped arms around Elliot, their foreheads touching, tears mingling. We're both scared. Of not being enough. Whispers unfolded. Vulnerabilities laid bare. The boy cast out meeting the man armored in gold. Dawn crept in as they talked. Plans redrawn. Therapy booked. LA deferred for us first. The climax crested not in fury but fragility. Adoption day. A curly-haired 5-year-old named Jamal placed in their arms, his wide eyes mirroring their own uncertainties. At the agency picnic, under oaks shedding gold, Jamal's giggle pierced the healing wound. But Victor's final gambit arrived. A leaked email chain, doctored to imply Elliot's infidelity with Theo, splashed across page 6. Chaos erupted. Calls from lawyers. Jamal's caseworker querying stability. Austin, Jamal on hip, confronted Elliot in the park. Their bench, pigeons scattering. Is it true? Even a sliver? Elliot's face crumpled, voice hoarse. No. Lies, all of it. But I own my weakness, the doubt I let fester. He dropped to one knee, not in proposal, but plea, ring finger bare as he removed it symbolically. If you need space, take it. But know I'd burn empires for this. For you, for him. Austin's resolve fractured, Jamal tugging his sleeve. Daddy, AUS, why sad? The word, daddy, unraveled him. He pulled Elliot up, kiss fierce amid judgmental stares. We're done running. Fight with me. They did. Press conference scripted raw, Elliot outing the sabotage, Victor's empire crumbling under SEC scrutiny. Jamal's adoption sealed, a family forged in fire. Autumn deepened into winter's embrace, the brownstone aglow with strings of lights and the chaos of new parenthood. Jamal, with his boundless energy and questions that pierced like arrows. Why two daddies? Is that magic? Became the glue mending fractures. Austin read him bedtime stories from cast shadows, Elliot adding ad-libs with that drawl, turning dragons into dancing queens. Nights, after tucking in, they'd collapse on the couch, wine in hand, dissecting the day's delights. Jamal's first snowman, lopsided and loved. The lawsuit's ashes fertilized growth. Victor, indicted for forgery, faded to footnotes. A cautionary tale at queer mixers where Austin keynoted on resilience. Betrayal's not the end, he'd say, Elliot's hand warm in his. It's the forge. Elliot mentored Theo at arm's length, channeling his spark into ethical AI for marginalized voices, the firm a beacon now. Yet humanism demanded reckoning with roots. Christmas loomed, and Austin extended the olive, inviting Miriam and Ray to the brownstone, neutral ground laced with risk. Not for them, he told Elliot over mulled cider, Jamal napping upstairs. For Jamal. To show family isn't blood, it's choice. Elliot's eyes softened, tracing Austin's knuckles. Brave man. I'll man the eggnog barricades. The evening unfolded tentative. Ray awkward with gifts, a toy truck for Jamal, Miriam's pie, recipe unchanged. Small talk skirted thorns, Jamal's laughter a buffer, his hugs disarming defenses. Over cocoa, Austin broached it. We don't erase the hurt, but we're building something whole. Join us. Ray coughed, eyes downcast. Lost sleep over it. Your dad. He regretted the letter. Died wishing he'd burned it. Miriam nodded, voice quaver. We were cowards. Afraid of mirrors. Tears flowed then. Apologies raw. Embraces stiff but real. No fairy tale absolution, but a door cracked, light spilling through. As snow fell outside, Jamal climbed Elliot's lap, declaring, Uncle Ray, tell story. Ray obliged, voice gruff with tales of Austin's boyhood mischief. The treehouse forts, Mustang spins. Laughter bridged gaps, fragile but fervent. Spring brought renewal. Austen's third book, Threads of Chosen, a graphic novel of their tapestry. Outcasts weaving empires of heart. Launch party at the gallery where it had begun, Eliot toasting. To Austen, who taught me love's the boldest investment. Their kiss drew cheers, Jamal giggling from Lena's arms. But romance, ever dramatic, tested anew. Eliot's annual physical unearthed a shadow, prostate concerns, whispers of treatment. In the doctor's sterile light, fear gripped, not of loss, but legacy denied. What if I can't be the dad Jamal needs? The husband you deserve. Eliot confessed that night, voice muffled in Austen's shoulder. Austen held him fierce, unflinching. You've been both since day one. We'll fight, like always. Consults, decisions, surgery scheduled, a hiatus from the firm. Austen cleared his slate, turning caregiver. Broth simmered, sketches bedside to chase demons. Through chemo's fog, Eliot's humor endured, jokes about bald and bold, hands clasped in hospital hush. Recovery was a marathon. Walks in the park, Jamal's drawings papering walls, super daddy beats bad guys. Vulnerability deepened intimacy. Post-treatment, their lovemaking rediscovered, slow, reverent, bodies mapping scars like constellations. You're my miracle, Eliot murmured one dawn, sunlight gilding sweat-slick skin. Summer solstice marked remission, celebrated with a vow renewal under the High Lines vines. Friends gathered, Jamal ring-bearer in tiny suspenders. Vows updated. In storms and silences, I choose you. Flaws, fire, forever. Rings exchanged anew, simple bands etched with cast-out, chosen. Years folded forward. Jamal at 8, soccer games where Eliot coached with whistle bluster, Austen cheering from sidelines, camera clicking. The brownstone expanded, addition for Lena's family, holidays a mosaic of blood and found. Miriam baked yearly, Ray tinkered with Jamal's bike. Forgiveness, humanistic, bloomed in increments. No perfection, but presence. At 35, Austen reflected in his studio, canvas alive with Jamal's portrait, eyes alight, mirroring his own at that bench. Eliot entered, arms circling waist. Penny for your thoughts, artist? Austen turned, hazel meeting whiskey. Grateful. From funeral mud to this, family, fire you. Kiss deepened, hands wandering, the easel forgotten. Eliot pulled back, grin sly. And the Millionaire? Best plot twist. Laughter echoed, a hook into eternity. In America's sprawl, where dreams dared defy, they'd rewritten the ending. Not tragic, not flawless, but profoundly human. Love as intervention, eternal.